So with your mixed media perspective projects, you're going to be asked to include at least one element of collage. Okay, collage just means adding paper, any kind of paper, to the page, usually with glue or some sort of adhesive. Okay, so one of the ways that you can do that is through I have some specialty papers that have some different textures on them, and you can come take a look later at my book of textures, but there's all kinds of things from brick to wood, so that will fit well with your theme, hopefully, of buildings. And I've already pre-cut a couple of pieces here to add to my piece, but you can see I've just kind of started coloring my example on Faith Day. And so this building's gray, so I thought it'd be nice to have a little gray side of the building. And this one is brown, so I'd like to add a little bit of brown to that side of the building. And if I can just find my glue stick here. Please, be aware that we don't want glue all over your page. So if you're adding glue, don't add it on top of your good copy, okay? Get some scrap paper off to the side. I'm just going to use the other side of my page on my sketchbook to add the glue to the back of my piece of paper, okay? That way, when I'm gluing it down, I don't have lots of extra glue around the page. But I would recommend for yourself having a little piece of scrap paper to the side. Okay, so I've got a couple little collage elements there with that specialty paper. And then the other thing that I want to show you is to think about using magazines and newspapers, okay? So I went through a magazine that it was like, I think it's a popular science magazine, so it had lots of different like natural elements in it, and this page caught my eye because it has grass. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to maybe include a little bit of grass or maybe even part of the sky into my background. Now, something you can think about is you don't have to just always cut your paper for collage, okay? You can actually get some nice textures if you rip it instead. And it can actually look a little bit more natural when you're including it in your design if you rip it instead of having a straight line. So maybe I don't want my whole grass to be, magazine. Maybe I would want to go back with some chalk pastel or oil pastel instead to fill in most of that grass, but I'd like to have a little bit at the bottom. So I'm going to use that ripped edge just to create a little bit of texture that will blend nicely into maybe my drawing materials. So as it sits there at the bottom, it kind of looks natural as it's included. And like I said, I would fill in the rest with some, maybe oil pastel would look really nice for grass, if that's what you would be doing. So I'm just going to glue that on. Now I've got some grass. And for newspaper, I want to show you a really cool technique that you can use with tape. So rather than just cutting out your piece of newspaper, we can do what's called a tape transfer. So just using regular old tape, you would choose an area of text that you would like to transfer, and you're going to cover that entire area with your tape. So I'm slightly overlapping my tape so that once I show you how we remove the paper itself, we're going to make sure that the tape sticks together. So I'm just slightly overlapping each piece. And I'm just trying to get a little section of text here. So once I've got the section of text that I'd like, I'm just going to cut that out. Okay, so this whole thing is covered with tape. And then what we do is we actually remove the backing with some water. So I have some water here. So I'm actually going to fully dunk it in the water and get it wet. And then using a little sponge with the scrubbing side, I'm going to gently remove the paper. And what's going to happen is the ink, because it's a toner type of ink, is going to stick to the tape and leave behind a transparent version of the text that I put it on top of. So it takes a little bit of patience. You don't want to scrub too hard because then you'll take the ink off too, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep the ink on there. So you'll just use your sponge, and you can see there's little bits of paper starting to come off of the back of the tape. So I'm just going to rinse off the rest of that paper. You can also use your fingers, works just as well. And then you can kind of feel what's coming off and where do you still need to remove paper. Once you start to hear that squeaking, that's when you're getting pretty close to having just tape left and no paper. Okay, so that's pretty darn close. So I might stop there. And then I'm just going to dry it off and dry my hands off. I don't want to get water onto my piece of art. So you'll see that we've got here a nice transparent piece of newspaper that we've got the text, but we don't have the paper. So it's kind of cool, and you can actually layer it over top of other colors, and the colors will come through. So that's just a little bit of something different you can try. And then you can also use packing tape. So if you want to cover a larger area without having to, rip off a bunch of different pieces of tape, you can use packing tape because it's a little bit wider. Say I want to get this person into my drawing. I'll just cut her out with the packing tape. And I would follow the same process to remove the backing with the water, and then I could place this person into my design somehow. Okay? So that's a couple of different ways to incorporate collage into your mixed media piece.